Yo, what is really good, my dudes? Today is Monday, January 28, 2019, and we got another RuneScape update for y'all. Today we see improved loot sharing and stone spirits. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, so this week is by and large a patch week. The biggest highlights being updates to loot sharing as well as stone spirits. So for loot sharing, they now have a new feature making it much more easy to boss with masses and other players not on your friends list. And that is the ability to allow loot sharing in your friends chat with anyone. You do not need to have them added to your friends list no longer. Make sure you choose this option though in your settings in your friends chat options. Keep in mind you will still need to be in the same friends chat and have loot share on a loot share world for this to be active and usable, but that is good nonetheless. You don't have to if you're PVMing with somebody you don't necessarily really know, or like I said, doing some big masses and you have larger groups of people that you can't add or just don't want to add. That's no longer an issue. Anyone, as long as you toggle the option, can benefit from loot share in your friends chat. Next up, they're finally buffing some stone spirits, at least the drop tables for certain monsters that drop some of the lower tier stone spirits due to the mining and smithing rework. So here are the changes for each of the bosses that have been changed with today's update. So the Queen Black Dragon, when she previously dropped Runite stone spirits, will now drop Orichalcite or Dracolith, and where she used to drop Adamant or Coal, she'll drop Luminites and Runite. At God Wars Dungeon 2, the Generals, they used to drop the Runite stone spirits, they'll now drop Nechrite or Phasmatite, and where they used to drop Coal, they'll drop Luminite. For Solak, where he used to drop Runite, he will now drop Bainite or Light Animica. And in the case for Nex, this is not AOD, just regular Nex, where she used to drop Coal, she'll now drop Luminite stone spirits. Jagex says that they're confident that these changes will improve things, but they will continue to monitor the situation as closely and make further adjustments if they need be. That being said, before we move on to the larger list of patch notes, a couple of quick ones for the Alchemical Onyx. At least for the jewelry, specifically the Grace of the Elves, players will now be able to toggle the Porter effect on and off, should you wish to do so. Also, the Porter of the Grace of the Elves will now deposit bars directly into the metal bank instead of your regular bank. That being said, we're going to have a list at the rest of the patch notes, so let's go on over there and go ahead and check it out. The Surge and Escape abilities will no longer show as locked if the required level is not met. Familiars cannot attack non-combat NPCs. Fix some dead clicks when attempting to move your character as they start on ability animation. Queuing an ability will no longer use a cycle earlier than when used after the Snipe ability. Solak's range attack projectiles will now correctly sent to each player. The hit splash when used to represent the splash hit is now shown on the correct player in the Solak group fight. Camel Warrior Mirages and Glacites now have the correct Slayer Helm buffs applied when the summoners are the player's Slayer target, though as before, the summons will not give Slayer XP or reduce your Slayer count. An issue's been resolved where Bladed Dive was stopping other game world interactions on the same action bar from showing the mini menu options. Disconnecting from Troll Invasion whilst fighting it will now allow you to resume on the wave you left off at. Players are now provided with some elemental runes when fighting the Dagonoth Mother 2 in Dominion Tower. Players can now open the world map while in the combat stance before or after engaging in combat. Offhand weapons now work correctly when using main hand range weapons in PvP. Analyze and Dissemble will no longer put the player into the combat stance and skull them when used on another player. Optimize some of the aggro scripts used in elite dungeons. Players can now reliably queue abilities while they are currently channeling an ability such as Concentrated Blast. Some changes to the mining and smithing rework. Prospecting a Perfidious Gemrock now correctly shows a level requirement of 75 instead of 20. A dwarf that appeared in Borik's cave after completing Doric's gnome task has changed his medication, no longer flails madly at the empty space where an anvil used to be. Renamed Armor Spike to Armor Spikes. Centered the inventory icon for adamant armored boots. Certain inventory models for some of the new mining and smithing armors have been tweaked slightly. Smelting Gauntlets is no longer works in free-to-play. Players may now augment their trimmed and custom fit masterwork armor at any charge percent. This can be done at any invention workbench. Make X when creating junk refiners has been fixed. A player upon login will now have the Tong slot on the tool belt automatically unlocked as it's no longer available from the Artisan's Workshop. The default 5% extra XP for creating burial sets now correctly applies when smithing said sets. This 5% stacks with the Solemn Smith unlocks from the Artisan's Workshop reward shop. The "You apply a rivet" message now obeys the chat spam filter. Divine Bronze rocks now correctly require 10 tin and 10 copper ore to create. Added a feedback message when attempting to teleport via the lodestone network while busy mining. Max has heard about the mining suite rework and now uses the updated hammer and no longer flails madly at the space where an anvil used to be. Sea Salt and Alea Sea Salt will no longer sent to the bank by Signs of the Porter and Signs of the Porter effects when mined. Isandria now accepts the correct result to her challenge scroll when asked about mining rocks in the nearby mine. Gem mining rocks at Shala Village have been thinned out, notably to make room for the occasional shooting star rock. Corrected text on the Fremnik Isles quest complete screen, which referred to it unlocking a runite vein. Since the metal bag of the ore box storage is not available in New Varrock, Zemregal has forbidden the smithing and usage of ore boxes in his domain. The Marm's Armory Medium Dungeoneering achievement now refers to the auto heater instead of the coal bag. Murderous Orokami no longer drop adamant items. Sign of the Porter and similar effects no longer send stardust to the bank when mining crashed stars. Fixed an issue where ores could only be added one at a time to the blast furnace. Players can no longer mine rocks through the crafting guild walls. You can now superheat iron ores once again. There's now a warning on ore boxes when attempting to alch or disassemble them. Corrected the type of gizmos augmented Bane shields except from weapon to armor. Previously perked shields have had their gizmos removed and placed in the bank. Moving on, increase the Grand Exchange buy limit for Ascension Keystones and Key of the Crossing from 100 to 300. The Elite Hunter outfit can now teleport to Crystal Skill Champas if the player has the quest requisite. Congealed Blood can now be used to overcharge Draken Medallion from the previous cap of 10 to a maximum of 25,000 charges. A Worn Games necklace now has a right-click option for specific teleports. Added more commonly recognized names of destination to the Pharaoh Scepter and Scepter of the God teleport options. Portables that save resources will now put them back into the inventory if there is space, otherwise they'll put them in the bank as they currently do. Modified Botanist Mask will now give correct amounts of vial. Players of the physical items of Sun Fury and Lunar Fury outfit have had them removed and unlocked in the wardrobe. It's no longer able to duplicate the Ring of Kinship via leaving a dungeon with the full inventory of skill capes. Teleport options on the Traveler's Necklace now correctly function from the worn inventory. Any instances of Rune 2H crossbows have been replaced on all drop tables by tiny spiked rune salvage. Caving into the Gains achievement will now give the pop-up when completed. Clarify the description of the 1001 Caridian Spike achievement that should be completed with the Cactus Patch in Al Kharid. The Fight for Your Right 5 achievement completion can no longer be triggered multiple times. The Chariot Teleport Wings have been retrieved from Valhalla and no longer in a ghostly form. Your current world will now be more visibly highlighted in the World Select interface. Removed the furnace icon, the furnace in Tyrus Camp, as it does not function as a furnace. Some brown oddities have been removed from the wall behind Barrow's dungeon. Some missing grass has been re-added to some of Prifdinus' districts, and some leftover Christmas items removed from the Max Guild garden. Couple of changes to mobile. Fix some PC terminology on mobile in relation to the toolbar interface. Resolved an issue where switching between client types would not remember your combat setting, legacy or modern. In an effort to avoid reducing the size of the backpack and other side panel interfaces, the action bars can now no longer take priority over them. A toggle button has been added to swap the left and right action bar. And some other fixes. Fixed an issue where you could not complete Violet is Blue quest under certain conditions. Messaging with the incorrect end date for the Victor Trader has been corrected. Fixed an issue where the conclusion cutscene in the Dimension of Disaster could be ended prematurely by a forced event. The complete quick option on the Gypsy Heiress has been renamed to skip to make it clearer that you are bypassing all remaining steps and forcing the current replay into a completed state. For those that choose to not read the prompt's warning that you will skip the quest, will not get any rewards. The Wicked Hood can no longer be used in minigames. Certain messages in Treasure Hunter have been adjusted to an info box. Combining Spirit Gem Charge no longer asks how many you'd like to combine if one is the only possible option. Picklock is now a left click for the Varrock Palace Treasury door. No longer possible to attempt to quick hop worlds, 2 worlds that you do not meet the requirements to enter. Players can now quick chat their abomination kill counts. Using the Taverly lodestone from the action bar in Dungeoneering will no longer cause a crash, and all lodestones will now inform that you cannot be cast within Demonheim. Clan overseers can now set or modify a clan login message. And finally, they fixed a force walk tile next to the common gem rock in Al-Kharid. That is it for your patch notes. Links to everything in this video will be down in the description below if you want to go ahead and check them out for yourself. Head on over there to do so. And with that, I'm wrapping the video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Peace.